Oh, hey, Dennis,
Is that you?
Rodman, that's you, huh? Hey guys, welcome for everyone that's just jumping on. Welcome to another live episode of The Good Life, talking health, wealth, love, and happiness, all the good stuff that's out there for you that you can continue. Oh, Carolyn, I'm sorry, I'm jumping into our IG. Our IG's been rocking for the past hour, and we've had some good comments. But either way, because you guys are just joining us right now, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, press a thumbs up, press a like, let people know that you're here listening to us. Hey, we're having a conversation today about the media. How does this tie into the good life? It's a great question. But I think we're going to answer that question by us just having this conversation tonight. So
let's do it.
Let's jump in. What are our initial thoughts about the media, Stu? Kobi, just talk to us. I don't know where we left off in our IG, but
we had picked up from or left off with Naomi Osaka, I believe. Say it? Osaka?
Yeah,
all right,
Osaka.
cool.
Yep.
I just want to double check, get it right. And recently she had dropped from or withdrew from the French Open as a result of them essentially not allowing her to participate in the tournament without fulfilling her media obligations afterwards. And she cited mental health as the reason why she's not participating. And I don't know if you guys want to sum up kind of like your take on that. And then I had a little bit of a counter take. I'm taking the other side today, and because there truly is stuff on both sides. So go ahead and kind of summarize your piece. And then I was coming in with something real hot. And hopefully I can keep it here.
Write it down, man. Take a note real quick.
I wish I had a pen, my bro.
So I have grown up with a intense, and I hope they're listening, an intense dislike of the media. Because at the end of the day, to me, like, they fail in so many occurrences to announce to the public whether or not the information they're providing is the truth or it's entertainment. And they use that to just sway people in whichever direction they want, whichever direction will get them the headline, whichever athlete can cry on screen like, dude, I just got the shot. Like, to me, I'm very happy with, I don't know all the details of it. We've done a little bit of research here and talked about it, but from what I've figured out, she took a fine for not talking on a post-win ceremony or whatever with the media. She took a $15,000 fine, and then they threatened her with more fines, and they threatened like, hey, we will make sure like you don't play here again. Like, apparently like all the Grand Slam, parties or whatever were like, hey, like, this is not cool, you can't do this. And they were like, look, I'm not feeling so hot, I don't like what the media does. This, like, to me, like, the implication is this is not about sports and about understanding me. This is about trying to catch people at their worst and make that a headline and make money on that. So to me, the intent behind the media, it just doesn't seem to line up, man. I'm a very straightforward guy, and consequently, the media and I just do not see eye to eye.
Follow that.
I'll follow it, man. I'll follow it. Oh, wait. Were you gonna follow it?
No, go for it, man.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. Still, you're not gonna. If you're here with the media in terms of how much you dislike them, so I'm either here or here, right? Because my entire business is about debunking the nonsense that comes out of the media and the nonsense that comes. And I consider K-12 as media, honestly. I expand media past like television, news, and things like all of the stuff, noise that we consume. Some of it is good, and you got to filter through it, but a lot of it isn't, and a lot of it, and it's grown. And but coming back specifically to the Naomi Osaka situation, man, I feel like I totally agree with everything everybody's saying on the side of like it's her mental health. Like, that's important. Yes, I agree. Like, don't be rude or mean or inconsiderate. Don't be a human about it. Be a human about it. I'm 1,000% there, bro. As somebody who is also, I'm sure most people listening to this have had days where they're like, man, I'm really struggling today. I just lost a loved one. This happened, or this happened in my life, or this happened, or it's just a tough day for me. I can't really work right now, right? We've all been there. We've all been there. But see, and I love the point you brought up earlier, is like, that's when you strategically use your PTO, and that's when you strategically throw it. And I don't even think you necessarily, as an employer, you have to prove to your employer that I would take it for whatever reason I want to take it for. Okay, you relax over there. And when I show up, I'm gonna give you everything I can give you when I show up. Okay, I totally got that. When we get to the athlete range, I think it gets a lot more murky. Because more than half of your obligation, in my opinion, like once you're getting to like the top 10, and she's top 2 in the world, you're good. You're good at tennis. Congratulations. You're good at what you do. You can really hit that ball. You're good. All right. The rest of it is the stories behind it. The rest of it is like the narrative. The rest of it is all of that. And that's a huge part of all those checks that you cash in. It's a huge part of it. So if you cash in the checks, how are you going to then say, no, I don't want that? Blah, blah, blah. Now, if the situation is that she's saying, hey, listen, I'll take that financial hit. That's fine. That's what Kyrie said, I believe. I'll take that financial hit. Tax me on that. I'm good. Okay. I'll take it. No problem. All right. Split my money half. Cool. And also that's good for you, but that ain't great for the 15th person on the bench, or the 14th person on the bench. Is really not, because it's a pot of money that's split. You, Kyrie, being a superstar, carry that. That's part of you being a superstar. It's not just based on your play. It's really not. I mean, and we're not talking about 80-20 here. We're talking like 50-50. If LeBron did this, people who were not interested in basketball, but watched it because they recognize LeBron, they wouldn't watch. They wouldn't watch, right? So at what point, my whole thing is like, at what point do you draw the line? And Chris, I appreciate what you were saying in terms of it's essentially that now, you know, athletes, or really anybody, can take control of their own brand, right? And athletes who do. I got it, bro. But I really think when you get to that really changes when you get to the top of the top. Those guys, I believe, can really control the brand. I like dudes in the football team who are getting cut every other week, who like are going from city to city trying to make it. They may have more of a brand than I do, maybe, but like they don't have that big of a brand. And also, like, you are trying to make sure your thigh works so you can try out for the next team. Like, how much time are you really spending, like, taking control of your narrative? And honestly, like, how many people care? Like,
but it might not be necessary. Yeah, it might not be necessary at the lower tier, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier when we started. Like,
but they have mental health issues.
Yeah, but again, they might not, like, it's not the same, because they're not dealing with maybe, and we can get into a bunch of different areas here, but like, they might not be dealing with the media, the number 15 person on the bench. There's no pressure for them to get scrutinized or whatever the case is. Their mental health is just because they had something in the family happen, right? Like, they're not at the same level of the top 10 to get the media attention, to get the press, to get all of the other pressures that come on. So for that 15th, 14th person, it may not be the same thing for them. But the biggest thing, and I think the point to this whole Naomi Osaka just mental health being at the top, and I think there's some narrative here, and we talked about the media, there's narrative that the real reason is because the position she's put in by playing that sport, by being in the top 2, is causing mental health issues. It's not that it's just a part of the deal. It's like I think we talked about this earlier. Stu, you said, like, if she could just play tennis, I'm sure she would be fine. Now, to your point, could be the media and the sport hand in hand. You sign the contract, they need the access, you're supposed to do that. But now her thing is, but the media is intentionally trying to create a narrative that's saying, like, that puts me in a place where I have anxiety, where I get depressed, where, right, I have these thoughts. Like, that's not fair for me being a top 2 athlete in my space. Why do I have to subject myself to what you're putting on me for your reasons, right? Because it's not about even telling the story or building a brand, because she can do that herself. What are these people asking of her? And that is the issue. Go back to Kyrie, since we're talking a little bit of sports here. They just tried to throw a bottle at him, right? Like leaving the tunnel.
That's not media, though. That's not media. That's not media.
True.
Yeah,
but it does go down to that point
narrow.
of like, what is the line that these are people that are entertainers versus these are human beings that we have to take into account, that like no matter where you rank, you can have mental health challenges. Like there's things that like will allow you to say, I'm not going to put up with that because it's not good for my health, right? Like they might not have leverage as the person, but
yeah,
she has leverage.
Yeah, I got that. I wanna, call for the record for Your Honor to strike the statement about the water bottle as it does not pertain to the media.
Well, it kind of does.
No. What are you talking
Here's how
about?
it pertains. It pertains to the idea that people in general are not looking at these other individuals as human beings.
That just because they signed the contract, we can do whatever we want because that's what you signed up for. It's like,
yeah. Can I call on Molly and our first take to get? Can I get in here? Can I get in here?
Go ahead.
Listen.
Go ahead, Molly.
From jump. I said none of this, regardless of where you are, who you are, what state you are, what number you are, and anything, should be dehumanized. That 1,000%. Come on. Of course.
We're not saying.
But what we're talking about here, fam, is what is your obligation? You signed up for a contract to interact. Now, listen, if certain members of the media are asking questions and like being rude or spinning things or whatever, you can go up there. I've seen stars do this all the time, or even normal folks do this all the time. You not answering your question. Yeah, you. Okay, go ahead. You not answering your question. You're an asshole. You da. They do that all the time.
45 right? Was doing that last year. He's like, I'm not gonna answer you. Go over here.
Right? They do that all the time. Popovich, Bill Belichick, all these stuff. They come up. Bill, what went into this game? Well, we showed up, we played football, and we won the game. Right? Like Marshawn Lynch. Well, I'm just here, so I'm not fine. Right? I'm just saying, like, it's you sign on there when you cashing them big checks. Part of the reason you're cashing those big checks is your media obligation, and not just a small part. It's a huge part. So at what point? I'm just saying, like, we definitely, humans, mental health, I'm all for that. I'm all for it. But I think in this particular circumstance, you get to a really sticky point where it's like, at what point are you you can't just not talk to the media. Like that's not gonna help anybody.
But do we put any restrictions on the media?
Absolutely.
Do we? Because this. How do they get to this place? It's by the media not having the same, right? Like they can ask whatever question they want, or they can say whatever they want. The player then has to choose. Like, I'm not going to talk to you. That's what has to happen, because there's actually no restriction for the actual reporter to ask some cockamamie side question that's like talking about their family or something.
Not to mention the reporter's not the one on camera. You're not capturing their reaction. You're not seeing their face and name.
Yeah, because they don't cash those checks.
That's fine. That's fine. But to me, it's not just about the money. And not to mention, even if it was just about the money, like, take the fine. She took the fine. She said, okay. When she backed out and they said, you'll never play in these tournaments again, she's like, okay, well, if that's how you're going to be, like, I'll just withdraw and come back to this at a time where maybe I feel like I'm up to talk to the media, and then I can play tennis play y'all stupid game, and y'all can't say I'm banned from the rest of Grand Slam tournaments.
Bro, you can't say it's that you can't
But
say
hold
play your
on,
stupid
like
game.
why
That's
are
literally
some
how we
people,
know her.
Why are some
If she
people
didn't have tennis
allowed?
on TV, we would not know who she is.
Why does that matter? Who cares? I don't need to know who she is. She's great. Good for her. I don't give a shit. Like, why does it matter?
Oh, pause. That is literally the essence of being a professional sports athlete.
Yeah, but that's not their choice. That's just the world they grew up in.
Yes, it is their choice.
If they want to play the sport and get paid to make money playing the sport because that's what their calling is, they just happen to be born in a universe where stories are more important than the actual event. And the reason stories are more important than the actual event is because our media is everywhere, no matter what. Like, they're always just giving us different versions of the story. It's like impossible to find the actual truth. Real journalism is basically dead, except for a couple of people who are trying to fight the noble fight, where it's actually about just.
For a league that signs a giant contract with a media
Then where do
company.
they play? Then where do they play? You know,
Bro,
like,
that's what I'm saying. You that's like saying that, like, listen. Hold on. What do you if you want to make the big bucks, right? This is what you got to do. You don't have to do that.
She's played the game for years, and one day she said, "You know what? I'm not feeling this right now."
All right, then withdraw.
She played the whole game. So then what is wrong about her decision? If some athletes
There's
can
nothing
say,
wrong
"I'll just
with her
take the
decision."
fun,"
There's not one thing is wrong with her decision.
then what's your point?
She made her decision. She made her decision and suffered the consequence.
So what are we arguing about?
You tell me.
What's the point? Like, the point of the conversation is. Go ahead, Kobi.
My point is, I started out by saying we do not dehumanize any human whatsoever. I don't care if you're number 1 in the league in tennis. I don't care if you're number 0. You don't do anything. I don't agree with the dehumanization of anybody. Period. Okay. So if there's something going on, if reporters are being malicious, as you guys have said, they should be dealt with on a one-on-one basis. But to say that, like, there should be no media obligations and they should just be allowed to play, but that's what you do on the playground. But you're a professional athlete, and to be a professional athlete, part of the gig that you sign and agree to, and that gets you to that professional status, both in terms of you being on TV all the time, you getting endorsement deals, you being everywhere, we know, and whoever LeBron is, all that, we know them because of the media. So how can I sit here and argue that, like, they shouldn't be obligated to do that, but they should still make the same level of money, but they should still have the same level of access? How do we do that?
Of course, no. I mean, I'm not saying that. Nobody's saying that. All I'm trying to say is, if certain people are allowed to try and make a statement and buck off parts of the system they don't like, fine. You have to, like you said, you have to face the consequences. So another great example with this, Colin Kaepernick absolutely said, there are things I don't like about what's happening in the world. I'm going to leverage my position to try and draw attention to this. And immediately groupthink freaked out. And NFL was like, hey, man, we can't be having this controversy. Like, this isn't the place for that. And it's kind of a similar feel. Like, Colin Kaepernick, even though he's not necessarily denying the opportunity to hop on an interview somewhere, he's saying, like, hey, this is shit that I don't agree with, and this is how I'm going to choose to try and draw attention to it. And Naomi's doing the same thing. Now, I think who knows what would have happened if she had just said, look, I'll take the fine. I'll take the fine again. But it's when they said, we will not allow you to play tennis anymore if you're going to do this. And, she decided to withdraw. Marshawn Lynch decided to show up and just say the same thing over and over again. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Everybody has a different approach. There are some people, like you said, that pick out the individuals, and maybe they have the interpersonal skills, the confidence, maybe the mental stability at the time to pick out those individuals and say, not answering your question, I'll answer yours, whatever. To me, I just think this whole thing is just about the media and some of the maliciousness that they bring about. Like I don't think that should be there, and you don't think that should be there, and Chris doesn't think that should be there.
Yeah.
This is just her way of handling it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're all in agreement to that point that like there should be no dehumanization. However, right, like you understand what you signed up for to a degree, right? Like I understand both sides of that. But just to your point, Stu, right? Like it's really more along the lines of like, what control does the media have on your mind, on how you're on what the narrative is out there to create those storylines, right? For what? For what purpose? For more people to know you? For just to follow the money, right? Because we know it's just the conglomerate, right? It's just to feed the machine. That's really why they're there. It's to feed the machine. It's to feed the ESPNs and ABCs and CNNs and all the other places that make money.
And the NFL and the NBA and the MLB.
But it's not. But I don't know that it feeds that way first.
Bro, it absolutely does.
Because
it absolutely does.
No. Because and here's why. Like I don't think it feeds that first. It's not that it doesn't, but it doesn't feed that first because like they're getting, who gets paid for the TV contract? Like who paid, like if Amazon wants to get Thursday night football, which they did, like they pay the NFL to get Thursday nights. When NBA signs a contract with ESPN, like ESPN is paying the NBA.
Yeah,
right?
and they pay the players.
Right, but they're already taking the dollars up front to get the TV deal so that they can get on TV. The narratives, the storylines, the why this person is this person that, like why the media starts attacking and pinpointing I don't think it has anything to do with that. It has everything to do with their machine. Who pays the reporter? And then how do they make money? Because they're paying, right? They're paying the NFL to get the thing. But how do they make their money? They make their money from advertisement, from other things. So they have to find the most popular things to continue to poke at. And that's where the narrative changes. And that's where we have a case like Naomi Osaka, where she's like, they're just doing this to poke at me. I'm not going to I know I signed up. I'm not going to subject myself to this so you can just poke at me, make me feel like crap about myself, make me question all these things. And she just doesn't, she's young. She doesn't have the mental toughness, mental strength or whatever to get through. Because funny that we're talking about, I saw Venus Williams, I think said something either after this or like maybe I saw a clip before where they asked her like, how does she handle the media or whatever? She's like,
Serena.
No, like I saw one with Venus where Venus, they asked her like, how do you handle the media? She was like, I never really let it bother me because I know none of these people asking me questions know how to play tennis at all, and I would beat them at everything that I do. So like, I know that it doesn't matter. But that's in her wisdom, right? Like she's hitting 40 soon or whatever the case. Like she's she understands. Like I'm just not gonna let this bother me. However, Naomi's younger. There's more attention, and then there's more scrutiny. And she doesn't put herself in that. She doesn't have to.
Man, listen, I agree with y'all. I think toughness is a strong word as well as part of the problem. Absolutely. Because, bro, Serena said this as well. We all built different.
Yeah.
We're all built different, bro. And nobody here is saying that, like, the media should be. Bro, I'm ending up here on this side of the conversation, and it's very uncomfortable for me because everything I do, and I would say even probably more than both of you, is actually going up against this stuff, right? I'm openly up against it. Meaning the media, the nonsense that's put out there, the whole thing, the noise that's put out there, right? So I'm in no way, shape, or form in support of the media. I feel like I have to keep reiterating that. I'm in no way, shape, or form in support of the media, of poking at players, I'm no way, shape, or form that. But where I get stuck though is you are who you are because you signed a deal with them. And Chris, actually, they do work together. The contracts that they sign with Fox, NBC, ESPN, those do work together with the journalism because those journalists work specifically for them. And part of that contract is that journalists having access. It's not just a televised piece of it. That whole 30 minutes, after, that whole hour after, that's part of the deal. It is. So and not one of the first things happens when you go pro is you start being trained for that, because that is the difference. That's the difference between you being at I play for fun level versus I make millions of dollars playing this. That's the difference. The difference is the media.
Not the only difference. I mean, it's one of the differences, but it's not the only.
Bro, I'll say it's 50%. I'm not saying it's the only difference, but I'll say it's 50% for sure.
It's not only because
we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that.
Because
we can look up the numbers, bro.
It's possible, but there's media that covers high schoolers, and it's not the separator, because there's college basketball, college football. All those things are just as talked about. A lot of times they don't get paid for any of it, and they're in the media. That's why, like I talked about earlier, about us, like these athletes being able to create their own narrative and like just use their social and build their brand, because it's starting younger and younger. So again, we're saying some of the similar things, right? Like, I understand that the media and these sports leagues are in bed together. Like, I get it. Like, they are to a degree. However, that is not just because you become a professional athlete. That's not just what I signed. I did not sign up just to have to handle the media. That's not what I did. Like this is my skill. This is what I do. This might be my passion. We could take it out of the realm of sports and go into entertainment, go into anything. Like, this is an age-old conversation of like, did you really sign up for it? Like Eminem saying like he can't, take a piss in the bathroom without somebody asking for his autograph. Is that what he signed up for? Like, just by being good at what he does? I don't necessarily know, right? This is the fine line. How much does the media, are they able to control? Like, again, can we shut down the media part of this and still have professional leagues and still have people make money and still? I think so. I think the Washington Post.
I think it'll be less than 50%. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think so, because we have all the other outlets.
I think if you take out the media out of the equation, they're making less than 50% of what they make right now, if not more. That's just how I see it. I'm looking at the numbers right now, fam. I'm looking at the numbers.
Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead. I'm saying you take out, and I'm not talking like, yeah, there's like school bulletin boards on local news that covers all this stuff. Sure, there is, but like there's also levels, right? ESPN and local news ain't the same thing, bro. Like you pay like darn near $10, $20 extra for ESPN for a reason.
But that reason is possibly because like they had to pay so much to the NBA to get the access.
The reason is because they have eyeballs.
But
all right, I'm gonna jump in real quick. So, what if we all agree that the media's got its issues? We all agree that everybody should be treated as a human being. I think the exact split on how the money is made is relevant, but I think for me, I'm more concerned on what direction, what direction the world is going in because of the media's involvement. So with particular examples like this, you have an individual who has decided to stand up against this machine that they do not agree with. Now, they signed a contract. Kobi, to your point, they said, I'm gonna fucking do this. But she tried to just say, take the fine, which probably would have been in that contract. The question is, if by signing that contract, did it also say you're going to get removed or kicked out of the tournament? So we don't know a lot of these details of the fine print, but like I relate this back to general contracting. If you sign a contract with somebody, there are termination clauses for when someone is not fulfilling their capability. And this whole proving thing has to go through. And really the athletes don't have that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, like if their dream is to play professionally, then and make enough money and be the best, I think that's the criteria here. If you really want to be the best, there are sacrifices you have to make. And I think right now what really bothers me is, you've got individuals like the best surgeon in the world, or like just individuals that are really doing everything they can to like save a life, that would make way less than entertainers. So to me, it always makes me think, like, are we all okay as a society with how much money these entertainers are making? And if we were to scale back the extremely powerful and influential media somehow, not there yet, if we were to scale that back, and Naomi is making $1 million instead of, I don't know, whatever, how many millions.
She made 37 million last year.
So she makes $1 million instead of 37 million. She's still living a damn good gig, assuming that it covers her expenses and her training. There's a lot that goes into that.
Man,
and that's why
your opinion.
That is my opinion.
Yeah, maybe she don't feel that way.
What I'm worried about is the fact that entertainment and manipulation of stories, or poking, or even if you take all that out of it, entertainment is worth more in our society. We see it with where we spend our money, with like Netflix and just everything, dude. Like, and we all agree that it's fucked up. But I guess my thing is, like, I'm just happy that there are people out there trying to point out how they just want to play the game. And yes, I had to sign this stupid agreement when I was 18 with the NFL, or 21 with the NFL, or whoever. I'll do the best I can to take the fines and keep showing up to play football for you guys, and so you guys can see me. But I don't know, man. I think
the media definitely plays a huge role. I think we just have to figure out, and could be like you're right. Like, you push back against this stuff all the time, so the media plays a huge role. But just for clarification, you think that the athlete that gets paid the money, because they get paid the money, should for sure deal with the things that come with making that money, regardless of, like, it shouldn't be a mental health. It's important. And again, we're in agreement. It's important. We get it. But like, in this scenario, when we're talking about athletes at this level in this type of machine, they're supposed to take kind of what comes with it. Otherwise, don't take the check.
I mean, many of them want to just play the game because of how much money it makes them. Absolutely, bro. That kind of goes to my answer to your question, Chris. That was from my guy Elliot Clark here. A lot of when you dribble in that ball in the driveway, and you're counting down 3, 2, 1. How many people are you in front of? You on TV?
None, of course not.
Man, right? And then in person, but in your mind, right? I mean, in your mind, when you're right, you got the photographs flashing, you got the video camera, you got here, you doing the interview after, you doing this, right? You're in this appearance, and this appearance, and this appearance. The media is a huge part of that. That's what you signed up for.
But like, maybe we just have an unrealistic expectation of that, because true. That might be what's going off in their minds, the flashing lights. But look at Kwame Brown, who, right, like, I've been listening to some of his stuff because this is right on target. He's just talking about how the media, like, people basically, the media could say that they ruined his career over and over again by continuing.
His lack of skill ruined his career. Get out of here, man.
But see, like, that's what he said. Like, how can you actually believe that when he was the #1 draft pick? If you look at his tapes in high school, like, you think all of a sudden he got to the NBA and his skill just went away? Like,
bro, how many number one picks do we know that have not panned out? He's not the first. He's not the first.
However, understand that especially in basketball, his skill level was far beyond what he needed to do to not be a bust, right? To not be like absolutely horrible. But he'll and this is what he's been saying. This is all recent too. Funny that we're talking about it. What he's been saying the most is that, look at the organization and what you guys did to my mind when I came into the league.
Whoa. What organization?
Who was he with? MJ. What was that? Sharp? Who did he go with first? Was it who's Kwame with? Was it the Wizards?
I think he played Lakers.
Was it? No, that he had gotten traded down the line, but like one of the first.
Who drafted him? I don't know.
MJ
that's the organization. That's not the media we're talking about.
But it is, because here's why. Because he leads it all in, right? When MJ brings him in, because that's who he was playing for. I think it was Charlotte at the time or whatever. Who I don't remember. But either way, yeah, he got drafted. MJ kind of got on him inside, right? Messed up his mental, right? He didn't know he was kind of off. And he still put himself in the position of being in front of the media, and they annihilated him. They annihilated him because of what was going on, like the influences around this 18-year-old kid. This is what he's saying. I'm just kind of reiterating what he's saying of how the media and people's influence plays a role to make someone like yourself think he wasn't skilled. And he's like, I was highly skilled. And
Hold on.
And then through
I watched Kwame Brown play, bro.
In high school?
No, when he was in the league.
That's not it. He's saying when he got to the league, before, what makes him a number one draft pick is what comes before that time, right?
So the media is responsible for Kwame Brown not being successful in the league. Is that what he's saying, or is that what you're saying?
I'm part of the reason that his skill was not able to do right, like translate in the NBA, was because of how the people around him, be it the general managers, the people inside of the organization, caused him to think about his game. And then the media on top of that said the same things and started poking at this 18-year-old kid for not playing the game that he was so skilled at playing. And it messed up his mental, which then led into messing up his skill.
I got two things. First and foremost, are you saying that how much blame that you just talked about the organization, which is not the media,
sure.
Right? You're right. The organization is responsible. No, let me finish. All right. The organization, MJ, the people in the building, all those people, that's a bad organization. That's not the media. Okay.
To start, but the media compounds those things by the narratives that people so-called sign up for.
I got that. But the people in the building, right, is not part of the media. Would you agree with that or not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's put that aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
The media is reporting what they're seeing from this dude's game. Are they not? And if I watch the game and I don't see what the media is telling me.
Partly because they also talk about all of the other storylines and things that have more of an effect on people's life than them knowing that in this one area they're good, right? Like you got to remember the mind of an athlete. Like if I'm a top two player, like Naomi Osaka has she has no gripes that she's not a good tennis player. No one needs to tell her that. Like she knows I'm good, everything's fine. The issue comes with the other things that get pulled into the mix. And that is what the media is there to do. That's their job. It's not to report on how they played that game. It's to report on the storylines of what that game meant to the storylines.
Well, let me tell you this. I saw Kwame Brown play. The media didn't tell me Kwame Brown was bad. Okay, that's just me. Maybe this is not other folks. Media didn't tell me, right? I watched the game. Okay, so that piece of it got it. All right, but if you're telling me that it messed with his psyche and that's why he wasn't able to translate from high school, or did he go to high school? Went from high school, or he went from college?
Yeah, no, he went straight from high school, I think.
Okay, straight from high school. Yeah, listen, bro. Again, let me offer this one. Who making that transition didn't have to deal with that? But Kevin Garnett found a way to do it, right? So who didn't have to deal with that? That is one of the hurdles. Okay, so if we are in the same class and we all got the same teacher, the same this, the same this, the same this, the same this, and we all dealing with it, and X comes out ahead and this one doesn't, all right, you can blame the media all you want, but at the end of the day, like, all of these individuals are going through the same thing. So are you really that skilled?
Not all, but if we're going to talk sports, not all of them are going through the same thing. A select few of them are going through the same thing because the only people that get media attention are the top 5
Kwame
players.
Brown went through it at a higher level than Kevin Garnett or LeBron James or all of these other.
But you're only. But again, like you're talking about the elites, but we're not talking about
right, we're talking about the level of intensity of media scrutiny.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Absolutely. Did he receive more media scrutiny than these other the top of the league? No, he did not. And they found a way to make it.
I don't know, right? Like, and again, this might go to your point of just how he was playing. Any of those elites that we're talking about that get the media scrutiny, they had good seasons. They had things that they could be positive on and things like that.
Because there's plenty of examples of individuals who were highly skilled and they did one thing wrong and they were crucified for however long. Did they all end up with Kwame Brown? No, they didn't. What I'm saying here, bro, is you can, it's the big stage for a reason. Man, this dude Elliot out here putting out big stuff, man. Appreciate you staying attentive in this here, bro. That's it. That's literally what I'm saying. It's called the big stage for a reason. And if you're not gonna perform on the big stage and you want to point fingers, it is what it is. You can put out whatever you want to put out. Media did this, media. But at the end of the day, that's what sports is. You didn't perform, regardless of what's going on, right? I lost my mother last night. I couldn't perform. I did this happen. I couldn't perform. Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. And if you choose to be in this arena, if you choose to play this game, if you choose to be part.
I think we died.
What is going on?
I think we just died on IG. It's all good. Keep going. We're here.
I don't know what's going on here. Are y'all on there?
No. We all died, but it's okay. We're here.
We're still here? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll finish up, man. Instagram was popping, though.
Hey, so I'm currently pulling it up right now.
All right. We in there.
We do, in fact, have to stop a live in between the pregame and the real thing.
Hey, we tested. Now we know.
Now we know. There we go. Now we know.
We tested. Now we know.
Yep. Now we know.
I thought we were done. We weren't done. We not done.
We back in here.
We back. We back.
All right, we got Carolyn.
But just finish my point. Go ahead. I can't hear you. Go ahead.
No,
I was just talking about some of the people that were coming back in. We're good.
Oh, back. All right. So to finish my point real quick, man. It's part of the game. It's part of the game, man, and it's just part of the big stage. It is what it is. It's called the big stage because of the media.
Sure.
It's called the big stage because of the media. So if the others could find a way to excel in the same boat. And people who were scrutinized far more than Kwame Brown was scrutinized. There was a period of time where they scrutinized Kobe relentlessly. There was a period of time where they scrutinized LeBron relentlessly. Like, went in on this dude. Still found a way to get 4 rings. Still found a way to got 5 rings. That's the difference. That's the difference.
So the question is this the world we want to live in? Or do we want to try and change this?
I don't know, man. I already told you. I don't mess with the media like that. Now we have like seven conglomerates, maybe less, that control all of. Nah, I don't mess with them. I believe in decentralization of pretty much everything, right? I believe in getting down to giving more power to the individual, pretty much everything. Now, if you are, and Chris, I think you should advise a lot of these players, man, because the opportunity's right there. Now, if you aren't making the moves somebody LeBron is making, somebody KD's making, or even smaller, you not controlling, you get like 15,000, 20,000 followers, and you don't know how to work that. Zion coming out of what? He coming out of college is like what? 30, 50, I don't know how many ever followers, right? If you don't see the game and you don't play the game, that's on you, man. That's on you. Get an advisor. Hit up Chris.
I'm just telling you, like everything's gonna change. This media conversation is a big one. I'm like you, Kobi, and again, I'm glad we can have dialogue about kind of how we see individual situations and things.
Facts.
That just makes sense, right? Like for us to be able to give our perspectives. But at the end of the day, like there's not much good about this media the way that we see it right now, right? Like there's just not much that's good about it, and eventually, I think it should be something that we start to. And I saw Carolyn had asked the question earlier. I don't know if she jumped back on, but she had asked the question. Dang, I forget the question. I was gonna shout you out, Carolyn, because I didn't want you to feel bad about missing the question, but I forgot.
Yeah, Carolyn, feel free to let that question come back in.
But yeah, that's what she said. She said, what's it? How do we separate the difference between like the marketing team and the PR team? Right? Like, and there's so many layers to this media these conglomerates that like, we really have to get back to a place as the individual to own their brand. Don't just turn your brand over. Don't just turn your image over to the powers that be, the NBA media, the MLB media, like any media that's fine. Don't just turn it over to them. Talk about it. Give your narrative. Talk about what's important. And I think that will be changing in sport, in entertainment. So that's the thing that has changed the music industry already, right? These are the things. Oh, it was journalism versus PR. That's what she said. Yeah, the lines are crossed. And it's true, right?
I think that's a great point.
It's true. Like, where do we draw that line? So
I think it's a great point because I think ultimately it comes down to to a pattern you see in a lot of different areas, right? And I'll say, things like it's a balance between freedom and security, right? So I want the freedom to not, I'm going to say it, guys, to not wear a mask, right? I want the freedom to not be forced to vaccinate for me before I can work in my workplace. I want that freedom. But on the other side, when you have a majority pushing out of fear for security, whether true or not, that's what we give up as a collective. And how does this pertain to the sports conversations? Let's look at the collective bargaining agreement, which is where all this stuff comes out of. Your obligation with the media comes out of all of that, right? Do NFL players, NBA players, are they going to give up? What are they going to give up to be in a position where they can have more freedom to dictate how things work? Well, as shown by the several collective agreements before this, they take the money every time. Every time. NFL just added a 17th game. We all know that's not good for the player. We all know that. Now, the top of the top, who could dictate who have enough security to dictate that, they were like, no, we shouldn't do this. But like the bottom 70% were like, what you talking about? They're going to put an extra like $1 million or $2 million in my pocket. No, I'm good. I'm going to take that. So they negotiate towards that. And so this is what if you want to exercise your freedom, you may gonna have to be a little risky sometimes. It is what it is. You're gonna have to take the fine to get out, because it is what it is. You're gonna have to show up and say, I don't want to get fined. I'm just here to get fined. You're gonna have to rock the boat.
It's so interesting how the parallels from last week about image are so relevant here with your ability to perform and being at the top, because it gives you that power. It gives you that freedom to some extent. Well, obviously it's never one way or the other. But yeah, I think if we were to like summarize this whole thing, kind of bring it back to the good life, we've done a great analysis of sports and media and like options. And I really like that way you just set up that balance of, freedom versus stability and fear versus individuality. And just, there's a lot of things we can go into there. I think, Chris, you had this awesome point about how you got to, and that's been a recurring theme in this conversation, about how you have to establish your own brand, how you have to speak your own truth. So I think what'll be interesting, and all three of us are on board with this, is like when you speak your own truth, you give way for other people to do the same. So the question is, are enough of the players or enough of the politicians or enough of like anybody who's out there that's under heavy media scrutiny, are enough of them willing to point out some of the things that aren't going wrong? Are they willing to risk highlighting some of these items? It's big.
I see Chris answering your question.
Because you already said it, because Kobi already said it, right? Freedom versus security. That's it, right? Most people, the masses prefer security. The masses, the collective masses of everywhere you go would prefer to be secure than to be free, because freedom comes with those risks.
And why is that? Because the media and like you said, K through 12 could be, they've been conditioned. Fear. Please subscribe, you know? I wish there was like a fear, like Holy Trinity I could like shout out like
I was like, what is he doing? Is he drawing the thing from Harry Potter? What is he doing?
Blessing you guys real quick. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason why this is such a passionate issue for all of us, because literally all three of us hate the media, and could be like your whole brand and movement is designed around debunking the bullshit that comes from the media. Because we all get really passionate about this. And I like the fact that, Chris, you already highlighted that we're able to have these conversations and we're able to, like, you know, stand behind our points and fucking follow through with this. So I think, you know, to me, just to wrap up this nice little rant that I've had, I'll go ahead and say that when it comes to the good life, if you want to have it, you got to figure out that right balance of freedom and security for you. It might not look like everybody around you. It might not look like the masses. I think the three of us just taking a chance, doing our own thing. Chris for 7 years, me for just over one, could be. I'm not exactly sure about the timeline, but what's interesting about you is how much you're actually Huh?
No, keep going.
What's interesting about you is how you so openly, you know, go after this type of stuff, and you're definitely a role model for a lot of us in that way. But everyone, if you're looking for the good life, you have to find that right balance that you're gonna be able to sit with, that you're gonna be able to like stomach and not look back with regret on how much you went for the freedom stuff and how much you went for the security stuff. And as it pertains to the media, that means you're going to have your own brand. You're going to have to speak your truth, or else somebody's going to speak it for you, and you're taking the power away from yourself.
Yeah. Of course, I'd love for you to speak a little bit more about the own brand piece as we close this thing out. But before that, I really want to speak to why it is that I'm so passionate about cutting the noise. Because for me, it didn't actually start with health. Like I started in health like the normal guy starts in health. You know, I started as a coach. I was a trainer. You know, I took courses in school, kinesiology, nutrition. You know, I was in the noise, right? You saw me in the gym. I was here, babe. Oh yeah, you know, all right, all that I did it. The protein shakes, all that. So when people see me now, I'm probably like half the size as I used to be, right? You know, so I want to point out that I started there. But for me, a lot of this is my first love was history. I always say this because I think it's critical. All right, my first love was history, and what really kind of got my brain turning on this whole cut the noise thing is when I realized that for 12 plus years, the history that I was so passionate about and was so, that was, I could everything, I could give you everything, right? Was shaky at best. At very best, and I didn't just read the textbook, man. I read other books, man. I studied these, you know. I was that kid, and that people, you know, uncles and whatever would be like, "Oh yeah, he likes to read. Give him a book," right? That was me. Okay, so that was me. But specifically, what I started to realize, it was I believe it was senior year in high school, where there was a radical teacher in our school who, for me, he was a radical teacher because he wasn't like the other ones, right? He allowed us to talk about the things, right? So it was
what subject?
I'll just put it out there. Key Randolph, shout out to you, my guy. Love you. Right? But he taught an elective that was he taught on books that weren't really read and that weren't part of the canon, right? Because we read all these books. I'm like, I don't see myself in Huckleberry Finn. In fact, I'm not the person I want to be, Huckleberry Finn, right? I don't see myself in Charles Dickens books, you know what I mean? So he did an elective where we read, you know, like autobiography of Malcolm X, right? And we started, I started to get a taste of like, hold up, the way that I've learned things, the way that I've been indoctrinated, the way that it may not have happened that way. And it just sparked an interest from me because though I was a student of history, it never really aligned with my spirit, what I was hearing, what I was saying, right? And my people's history weren't really even told. And when I say that, I'm not talking about I'm just African Americans here in Americas, but even to a worse level, Africa, where you got a whole continent of people that are literally just being portrayed a particular way. So my hatred of the media runs deep. Right? It runs deep. When I came here, people were clicking at me and like throwing little, things at me and like making all these, because that's all they knew of Africa. That's all they knew of what Africa is, right? So when I started diving into what is race, what really is it? A lot of people talk about it, a lot of people debate about it, but very few people actually can track the construction of race as a social construct throughout history. I spent most of my college years doing that. And the deeper that I got, the more I realized how deep the deception was, not just to white folks, but even to people that looked like me. Like it was deep, right? And I felt like, man, I remember sitting there junior year of college. I was sitting there like, I was just talking about this with my buddy of mine. I was junior year sitting there like, man, I've been lied to for this long? I wonder what else exists that, quite frankly, I've been lied to about. That's what really got me, right? And I was already in health, so I started being introduced to a totally different set of books, a totally different library of information that just was not out there in mainstream media, right? That's what really got me to this place of just like, I hate being lied to, yo. I hate being lied to. I hate being misled. I hate my time being wasted. I felt like I wasted all this time, and yet I didn't get that much out of it. So the hatred of media and what everyone is saying in regards to that, to me, is actually much, much deeper than even mental health. It's real. If we want to talk about that, we can talk about all of our mental health, sure. Right? By the level of deception that has occurred with us. And I want to leave on that because I think that's where I'm coming from. But when you make your bed with who you make your bed with, in my opinion, don't cash that check. If you don't cash that check or exercise or cash enough of them so you can actually exercise your way of exiting the matrix. That's just, those are your choices, in my opinion.
I love it. I think you guys summed it up and wrapped it up. I agree with what both of you guys said. And to wrap up this episode, because I think we hit on, man, this topic of the media, it's a big deal. I don't think people really understand how much it really influences our mind and what we see and what we're consuming and all those types of things, right? I don't really know that they understand that. So I'm glad that we can talk about it. I know you had said you wanted me to kind of touch on that last point of the brand and having our own voice. I think it's just a good way to wrap up, because for those of us that are seeking the good life, that are heading after that life, you have to understand that like your narrative, your reputation, what you're choosing to build, your legacy is important. How that is communicated to the world is important. Today, we talked a lot about athletes and how the athlete's story is communicated to the world. But again, I just believe that it's all on us to narrate our own lives. If you are in search of that good life, right? Like continuing to move forward in your craft and what you do, you have to be able to speak on your life from your standpoint to give the world the narrative that they should have about you. And anything that hinders that shouldn't be a part of. And if that comes in the form of these professional sports where they don't want to talk to the media or whatever the case is, my side is don't talk to them then, right? Like, but at the end of the day, like Kobi said, right? Sometimes if you sign that contract, you got to do what you got to do. But I think we're all in agreement that there's nothing really good about the media, and we have to pay attention to what's actually happening. And if you don't like what's happening, create your own voice and start to share that with people. So, gentlemen, it was a good one. This was a good one. I think we're going to get some good stuff on this. And again, for all of you that are listening, that are watching, every single Wednesday, we're coming back and having these conversations about the important stuff of life. The important stuff of life. Don't get distracted by the things that are not important, because that is what they're out to do, is distract you. We want to talk about the things that are important for you continuing to move forward and live that good life. So every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going live, but we're actually jumping in our Instagram and building our IG community. So please join us an hour before so we can get the pregame going on Instagram, and you guys get a chance to hear more from us, talk more to us. We want to engage with you. Shout out to Carolyn, Elliot, right? The people that were speaking up on the IG, like, thank you for that. We love the feedback. We love the comments. And we want to continue to have these thought-provoking conversations every single week, guys. So until next week, signing off for another episode of The Good Life. Enjoy your week, guys. Take care.
We out of here, baby.